When the silence watches. That's what they called it. A whisper in the quarantine reports. An infection with no name. And no scream. It began in the heat of July. The city of Foshan in southern China simmered under a dense electric sky. A quiet place until the fever came. First, it was a trickle, a few cases of strange rashes, swollen limbs, and tremors that didn't quite look like any virus they'd seen before. Then the dreams started.
Something's wrong with them, whispered one nurse, voice cracking. They don't teach asleep, they stir.
I was flown in the next morning. My name is Dr. Adrian Miles, epidemiologist. 30 years in the field. I've seen Ebola tear through jungle villages. I've stared COVID in the face on ICU floors. But this was different. The local government kept it quieter for now. Just a dozen patients locked in an underground clinic outside Foshan. No press. No noise. Just a single message forwarded to my secure inbox.
They re not dying, they re waiting.
I arrived under cover of darkness. No public arrival, no fanfare. Even the driver avoided eye contact.
ULL feel it when you get close, he muttered, like the air doesn't move anymore. He was right. The clinic wasn't much 3 levels beneath the concrete complex once used as a tech startup. Now it was silent, except for the humming. Low, almost subsonic, a vibration that tickled the teeth and made my chest tighten. I asked about it. No speakers, tea wouldn't meet my eyes. It started 2 nights ago.
Infected individuals were restrained. Not because they were violent, they weren't tea. But because they all moved the same way, sitting upright, hands folded, eyes wide open, and lips moving.
No sound, the head nurse explained. They re-mouthing something always, like they re-speaking to someone.
I checked the vitals. All stable. Brain activity high. Too high. And the strangest part. They seemed aware. One man, 42 years old, looked directly at me as I entered his observation room. His eyes were glassy. He didn't blink. But his mouth formed a perfect mirror of mine. Whatever I said, he mouthed. Not after me. With me. I whispered a random sentence. Time moves backwards when the dead are listening. His lips formed the same words. At the same time. Perfectly.
Doctor, the security guard buzzed in. ULL want to see this. A second patient in room 3. They had removed her restraints for testing. She was gone. Not escaped. Done. No footage. No audio. Not even biometric logs.
She disappeared between 2 heartbeats, the nurse whispered.
We searched every room. Nothing. Not even her hospital gown. But in her place, on the sheets, lay a thin layer of salt. And written in it, traced by some invisible finger, they are coming through us. Then the power flickered. Only for a second. But when the lights came back, the clinic went into immediate lockdown. The 2 new arrivals unresponsive. Vitals normal. Temperature stable. Yet no one could explain how they got there. I reviewed the surveillance feeds myself. Frame by frame. Nothing. 1 second empty chairs. The next they were just there. Like they'd always been. No sound. No glitch. No breach. And yet, the air felt thinner now. Like something vast was pressing down on us, just outside the reach of sight of sense.
We be not supposed to be here, whispered one of the nurses. Eyes wide, lips trembling. I mean not just in this place. In this moment. She said it like she remembered something she shouldn't.
I ordered blood work from all patients. A young technician named Lai drew the samples. By evening, the lab data began rolling in. Every subject had an abnormal compound in their plasma, something not catalogued in any database. It pulsed. Literally. Under the microscope, the substance vibrated rhythmically. Not with life, but with pattern. A language. We ran frequency analysis. Tonal mapping. Even AI pattern recognition. The verdict? It was attempting to respond. To something. And then it did. At 3:06 a.m., every patient sat up simultaneously. Not gradually. Violently. Like puppets yanked upright by unseen strings. Every monitor began to spike. Heart rate. Age. Temperature. And then they spoke. Not aloud. Still mouthing. Still silent. But the speakers in the security office, they began transmitting a sound.
It is not from any channel. The tech muttered, pale. The feed is its internal.
We recorded it. Slowed it down. Ran it through voice synthesis. It wasn't human. It was deep. Waiting. as though 1,000 mouths were whispering at once through dry reeds. But the words, they were in Mandarin, and then in Sanskrit, then in Latin. The same phrase, repeated again and again. Open the throat.
They were not infected. Lai whispered from behind the glass, her hand pressed to the window, shaking. They're transforming.
I turned to answer her, and saw blood leaking from her nose. Her eyes rolled back. She collapsed.
At help. Someone yelled. We rushed in, lifted her. Pulse fading. Skin cold. But just before we lost her, she whispered something, barely audible through cracked lips.
Something is already inside me.
Then every light in the facility went black. And somewhere in that sudden, suffocating dark, the emergency lights flickered on dim red strips along the corridor floor. Not enough to see faces. Just outlines. Shadows where there should be eyes. We were 6 in the main corridor, myself, 2 guards, a nurse, and 2 technicians. Lai was gone. Taken to the med bay, which now felt too far. Too quiet. Then, that sound again. The wet whisper of parting lips. But this time, it wasn't just one. All around us. Behind doors. Inside walls. Above.
This place wasn't built with a ceiling fan, murmured one of the guards, flashlight trembling in his hand. Then what the hell is moving up there?
We made for the security room. Only one monitor was still working, black and white, distorted. Camera 6. Observation room B. Patient #2. Still sitting. Still mouthing something. But a shadow. It moved. Separately. It detached. Slid sideways across the floor, as if testing the edges of the room. Then it paused, then slowly tilted as if looking directly into the lens. The screen cracked. No impact. No sound. Just a jagged, silent line, like something had clawed it from the other side.
It is not the virus. The nurse whispered, clutching the holy symbol on her necklace. It is something using the virus. Like a key.
We lost the signal completely. Static. A low drone beneath it like bees trapped in glass. I checked the file on patient #2 again. His name Yao Dian. Age 31. Status unknown. But there scrawled in pen, just under the intake form, something I hadn't noticed before. He answered the call. I didn't write that. None of the team did. The penmanship was not human. Each stroke too perfect. Too symmetrical. Like it had been pressed, not written. We returned to the lower level. Corridors darker now. Warm. Thick with some humid static that clung to our skin. And then, we heard her.
Lie. But her voice was coming from the drain in the floor. Doctor, I saw it. I saw the mouth.
We froze. Not one of us dared. We ran. Instinct pure and blinding. But even as our feet pounded down the dim corridor, I realized something horrifying. The names it whispered. They weren't just spoken. They were known. My full name. My childhood nickname. Even the one no one else ever used. It reached inside my memory and plucked it clean.
Stairs now! Shouted the lead guard, throwing open the emergency hatch. We climbed. 4 flights. No looking back. Only the pounding, a natural thud of that thing behind us, the wet, echoing slap of limbs that didn't move right. Too many joints. Too many mouths. We burst into the upper wing unused, dusty, forgotten. Once a startup's meeting floor, now abandoned. But something was waiting. Not the creature. Screens. Dozens of wall-mounted displays powered on by themselves. Each filled with static. Then, a face. Mine.
My face blinking, confused, displayed from every angle.
That is not live footage. The nurse whispered, backing away.
No, it wasn't T. Because the next moment the screen showed me doing something I had not yet done. Looking to my left. Lifting a chair. Throwing it at the window. 10 seconds later, I looked to my left. Saw the chair. My hand moved exactly as predicted.
It is watching forward. The technician was pale, shaking. Not into the past. Not the now. It is watching what will happen.
I yanked the plug on the power unit. Nothing. Screen stayed on. Now showing every one of us, one by one, each dying in different ways. A slush across the neck. Eyes turning to stone. Skin peeling like bark. Mine was absence, not death. Just gone. Like I'd never been. Then, behind us, a sound like wet silk sliding over bone. We turned. Too slow. It was in the room, but not standing, not crawling. It hung upside down from the ceiling, arms spread unnaturally, mouths all smiling.
One of the masks was Lies, another the missing nurse from room 3. A third was mine. It spoke with my voice.
You don't belong in time, Adrian. Then it dropped. The keycode still worked. No one had used this floor in over a month. The air was thick, moist, heavy with disinfectant and rust. The nurse whispered,
Why would it let us come down here? I didn't answer, because I was thinking the same thing. 3 doors lined the hall. 2 were sealed with quarantine tape. The third stood open, a slight flickering. Inside, a single bed. Empty. Walls covered in writing. Symbols. Circles. Inverted trees. Tongues drawn as spirals. And in the center of the room, a chair. Facing the wall, we approached. Slowly, a shape sat in the chair, hunched. Then, head twitching like a metronome stuck in molasses.
I moved around slowly, the nurse behind me. Then I saw its face. He wasn't asleep. He was dead. Long dead. But his mouth was still moving. And on the wall in front of him, scratched by hand, a sentence, repeated over and over in trembling, vertical script. The sky listens when the ground forgets.
That is what Yarjan was saying, she whispered. The same phrase.
More than a phrase. A ritual? A warning? A signal? I don't know. But suddenly I understood this wasn't a patient room. It was a beacon. This man had been calling out on repeat. And something had answered. I took a closer look at the body's hands. Each nail had been ripped off. Underneath, black ink. Lines running up the veins like calligraphy. Then I noticed the writing on the wall wasn't scratched into the surface. It was growing out of it. Like veins. Pulsing. The nurse stepped back. Her foot struck something. A soft clang. A metal ball. A side. A tone. Perfectly preserved. Still twitching. She
turned to run, but the door slammed shut.
I rushed toward it, but then the lights cut out, and the chair creaked. Not forward. Up. Whatever was in that chair had begun to stand. And behind me, the wall began to whisper in 1,000 voices. Each one was saying my thoughts. It was impossible. The wall wasn't speaking English, nor Mandarin, nor any real language. And yet, I understood every word. Because it wasn't speaking to my ears. It was speaking from inside my thoughts. Every whisper a private fear. Every phrase a memory I hadn't touched in years. My mother's face. My father's silence. The moment I first lied to save myself. It knew.
The nurse screamed sharp, terrified. I spun around. The chair was empty, but the figure of the dead man was standing behind her. Arms hanging. Eyes gone. Tongue missing. And yet he whispered, his breath shaping the same phrase. The sky listens when the ground forgets.
I pulled her back. We slammed our shoulders into the door again and again, until it finally gave way. We stumbled into the corridor, light flickering, but the hallway was different. The symbols from the walls, they were now everywhere. Spirals painted across the floor. Vein-like tendrils crawling up the ceiling. And ahead of us, a mirror, 10 feet tall, framed in rusted brass, etched with the same phrase over and over. The sky listened. We had never seen this part of the building. It wasn't on the blueprints. It shouldn't exist.
She approached the mirror, mesmerized.
Don't I said, grabbing her wrist, but she didn't resist. Because in the reflection, we were not alone. Behind us stood a third figure, but when we turned, nothing. Only the corridor. I looked back at the mirror. The third figure was still there. It was me, but older. Eyes gone, tongue black, and whispering. He raised his hand. So did I. Unwillingly. He pressed his palm to the mirror, and so did I. It felt warm, but I looked down. Blood, leaking through the glass. Then, His face cracked into a wide grin, mouth splitting too far, teeth like stone, and he said, with my voice, "You are the echo now." The glass shattered, but we were hit with shards. We were pulled through. I screamed, but the sound stayed behind. Only silence followed us. Then, light. And sky, but not ours. Not with us. The sky above us was watching, and it remembered everything. There was no ground, only a reflection of one. Clouds hovered beneath us like inverted islands, each one holding fractured pieces of buildings, faces, and voices that looped without mouths. We stood on something that resembled a bridge, but it had no supports, no railings, just bone white stone stretching into the fog.
The nurse gripped my arm. She was shaking, eyes wide, whispering, "We're not supposed to be here."
A deep hum pulsed through the air. Not sound, something older. A pressure behind the ribs vibrating the blood itself. Shapes moved in the fog. Tall. Bent. Watching. I didn't recognize this place, but my thoughts did. Memories I'd never lived began surfacing. The taste of salt air in a stall, a city. The smell of burnt feathers and copper. The feeling of dying without ever having been born. This isn't a place, I said out loud. It has a translation. A place between ideas. The bridge led us to a door. Standing upright. Freestanding. Old wood bound with metal. Scratched with the same sigils from the hospital walls. I didn't want to open it, but my hand moved anyway. Behind the door a room. Familiar. The quarantine lab. But empty. Dust covered. And frozen in time as if no one had entered in years. A single desk. And on it, a patient file. My name was on the cover. I picked it up with shaking hands. Inside wasn't paper, but skin. Human. Flattened, dried like parchment. Ink burned into the surface like brands. And across each page, my memories. Things no one else should know. Things I hadn't remembered until now. Every lie. Every failure. Every time I turned away. Every time I heard someone scream and told myself it was nothing.
The nurse whispered, voice cracking. They rewriting us down.
I turned the last page. My own face drawn in black ink. Mouth open. Tongue gone. Eyes hollow. And under it, written in delicate, handwritten glyphs. The sky listens because it wrote you. And then, the door slammed behind us. The page began to burn. Not with fire, but with light. And from the burning skin, a voice rose. Mine. But saying things I hadn't said yet. Things I was about to do. It spoke my future like it was already memory. Words I hadn't thought. Decisions I hadn't made. But the voice said them anyway. It said I would run. That I would leave her behind. That I would pretend to forget. And worst of all, that I would tell others it never happened.
The nurse backed away from me. She had heard it too. "You're part of it now," she whispered. "You always were."
I shook my head. No, I didn't know any of this. I didn't. But then, a memory. From years ago. A file I buried in storage. From an outbreak in Yunnan province. A remote facility. A body found with its mouth sewn shut and a message carved into the chest. I was told it was a hoax. A containment breach. I filed it away. But the phrase, it was the same. The sky listens. I had seen it before. And I have forgotten. Or maybe, I was made to forget.
The nurse turned toward the far wall. The mirror was there again. But now it was a window. And through it, the real world. The hallway. Empty. Dusty. Still. She stepped closer.
Wait. But she placed her hand on the glass. It didn't pull her in. It let her go. She vanished through it like smoke through a crack. I was alone. and behind me, the book of skin had stopped burning. A final phrase etched into the last page. You will carry this now. The mirror didn't show the hallway anymore. Only sky. Watching. I stepped forward, and the light swallowed me. Then, I was back. On the floor. In the hallway. Alarms blaring. Voices shouting. Emergency lights flashing red. And no one remembered we had ever gone. Except me. And when I tried to speak, I couldn't because my tongue was done. The air smelled like burnt copper and rot. I couldn't scream. I couldn't even whisper. The raw wound inside my mouth pulsed with each heartbeat.
He took your voice. The woman-s whisper echoed behind me like a memory unraveling in reverse.
I turned too fast. The corridor behind me was empty. Empty, then pulsing. Walls breathing. Ceiling dripping. A heartbeat, not mine, beating through the very bones of this place. I stumbled forward, hand on the wall for balance. It was warm. Click. It quivered under my touch. Then, a door. Steel. Too clean. Too new. A panel blinked beside it. A keypad. Numbers scratched in, not printed. As if someone had gouged them in with broken nails. I knew the code. Oh. I didn't question it. My fingers moved on their own. 1. 9. This.
Year of the first leak, a voice said behind me.
I turned to no one. The door hissed open. Inside, a room glowing with dozens of screens. Every wall covered. Each screen flickered with real-time footage. People. Cities. Forests. Hospitals. One screen, my apartment. Another my childhood bedroom. What is this? I mouthed the words. No sound. Just breathe.
He listens. The voice returned, now in front of me. A silhouette at the far end of the room, fused into the wall, screens like a grotesque painting. Wires, or veins, sneak from its body into the machines. He listens, and learns, then punishes.
The figure raised an arm slowly. Painfully. Flesh tearing. Its hand pointed. At one screen.
You brought him back in.
The screen flashed. Wuhan. August 2025. Crowds. Coffin. Sirens. A child collapsed. No one stopped. Everyone moved in perfect unison like puppets pulled by the same string. Then, black static. All the screens shut off except one. A live feed. Of me. Standing. Alone. In this room. Only in the feed my mouth was intact. But my eyes were missing. A new voice, mechanical and ancient, buzzed from every speaker.
Speak now, and he will see you.
I should have run, but I didn't. I stepped toward the screen that showed me without eyes, mouth whole, standing as if I belonged. A low vibration filled the room. The air thickened like lungs filling with smoke.
Say it, the voice groaned. Say what you brought back.
I couldn't speak, but something deeper did. Not my mouth. Not my thoughts. I opened the door. I brought him through. And he was listening the entire time. The silhouette on the wall shivered. Not in pain. In joy. From his chest, a sound began to crawl out like teeth grinding inside metal. One by one, screens lit back up. Only now they showed no cities. No people. Only sky. 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 In every feed. Endless and watching. I tried to scream, but something was already in my throat. Not a voice. Not words. A signal. The hallway returned. White. Silent. Bleached of time. I was walking. Down it. Alone. Or not quite. Behind me. Footsteps. Exactly in sync with mine.
A nurse stepped out from a side door, but not the same one. Her eyes were gone. Mouth sewn shut. skin pale as porcelain. She handed me something. A clipboard. On it, a patient intake form. My name. My birthday. Today S-date. Below that a diagnosis. Exposure, class Roman 7 mimetic carrier. And a new name. One I hadn't seen before. But it was written in my own handwriting.
The archivist. The nurse raised her hand, pressed her palm to my forehead. The hallway vent peeled back like a mouth opening.